Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my, pretty every show that I do, because I only want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Dylan Turner, what is up over on YouTube? Let's get it today. Matt Salefsky, what is up? Good morning to you. Carla Isted, good morning. They're both coming in over on LinkedIn. Flo, good morning, everyone. She says she's coming in on LinkedIn as well. Corey Buchan, happy Thirsty Thursday. My man, coming in hot. Huh. Yeah, you guys, it's a banger of a week, banger of these last couple of weeks here, you guys. And just another daily reminder that cold calling is not dead, contrary to what a lot of these companies are out there trying to tell you. Cold calling is not dead at all, ladies and gentlemen. Get out there, make your calls, and get in front of some people. You guys, get in front of some of these customers out there. We got some articles that we are going to break down here in a little bit, you guys. We're going to clear up some things about what's going on at some of these ports. Thieves are targeting some EV stations, and it's going to do a little bit of a market update as well going on out there. Also, you guys, diesel fuel is at $3.65 a gallon out there nationwide. I get all of that information from the EIA. EIA.gov is where you guys can find that, see where it's tracking, how it's ironically falling in an election year when it was sky high for these last couple of years. And, try and find some of those patterns out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see here. New podcast is going to be dropping tomorrow. And then if you guys want to get caught up on some of these episodes, because we drop like literally 7 podcasts a week. I don't know how I do it sometimes, but we still keep coming back. All of those are up on iTunes and Spotify, and you can go and check those out. You guys, Coffee with the Freight Coach. Yeah, let's see here. Nick, what is going on, man? Good morning. Steve Setka, what is up? Let's make it happen. Let's make some calls. That's right, man. Get out there. Get out there, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I was talking to, so this guy's episode will be coming out here in a couple weeks. But I was, he's a guy who I got a ton of respect for. He shoots it straight. And we were talking yesterday about, kind of like the sales cycle and, and really kind of like the realities of growing out your business and what it takes to get and grow a brokerage, right? So this guy's been in the brokerage space for a very long time. He's currently out of the industry because he just had an exit from a company. So he's taking some time right now. And, we sat down and we just talked about the realities of building a business. And, and he actually helped me through something that I personally struggle with in sales. And you guys will have to wait till that episode comes out. Because, yeah, it is. Business development's an emotional roller coaster. Business in general, especially if you're out there building up your own company, it's an emotional roller coaster. And I'm always constantly when I'm not working, I'm trying to think of ways, and I'm reading books to try and better prepare myself for a lot of these things. I'm listening to podcasts. Obviously, if you guys tune into this show, you guys know that I'm a massive Andy Frisella fan. Real AF podcast. I'm listening to his Q&A show this morning. I'm in the middle of that right now. But here's a book that I'm in the process of. I just started this, and this is speaking to my soul a lot right now. This one is called The E-Myth Revisited. I don't know if you guys can see that at all. There we go. Yeah, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. I'm only like 50 pages in right now, but it's been a really, really good book so far. I would highly recommend any entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur out there picks that one up and reads it, because so far it's definitely spoken to my mindset and what I kind of go through personally out there. So I would definitely check that book out. Tracy St. Clair, good morning to you. But with that being said, Steve said, legit, just listen to that this morning. Reciprocal business isn't always going to happen. Yeah, man, dude. I think like that's the thing is, how do you build business? And I actually got a question that came in for the Q&A show tomorrow that I'm going to break that down about talking about building up a customer and really assessing your customers and who you're working with to try and build for the long term. Hold on one second here, guys. I just got a customer request. Perfect. Sorry, guys. Like I said, you guys tune in because I actually move freight. I'm in here. Oh, man. Sorry. We're again back to cold calling not being dead, you guys. I cold called this individual who we're picking up our first load for literally right now. The driver is on site getting loaded, and cold called him like a month ago, and some follow-ups and everything else and some emails back and forth, and voila, we're picking up our first shipment. Rocket science, right? No, I'm just playing. I'm just being a smart ass, but no, like that, like I was talking about that the other day as well is what we've seen from a results perspective of cold calling over these last essentially 90 days pretty religiously on top of the email outreach and everything else that we're doing and continuing to do. And the ROI is exponentially higher, ladies and gentlemen, by just picking up the phone and calling than it is through emailing. And I'm not saying like don't do a balance of both, right? Because if you're out there doing and wearing multiple hats, like a lot of us do at the end of the day, you might only be able to send 50 emails in a day because you got freight moving, or you know what, maybe you're trying to secure financing for your business, or you're meeting with attorney, whatever that looks like. I understand that there's a lot of stuff that goes on if you're trying to build your company up, but I think like cold calling has got the best ROI out there. It truly does, and I'm not gonna ever buy into the myth of automate your sales process at all. Cold calling is not dead. The greatest ROI that we have seen from a business development standpoint over the last 90 days is from this little fucker that we all walk around with right there. Pick it up and dial, or try and get out there and visit people in person. I think that is even more effective than cold calling is doing site visits, right? And yes, you could say that there's a correlation between a cold call and a site visit because, you want to, I at least like to call them ahead of time. But I think like those are alternative ways, back to the basics, I'll call it, about that from a business development in a freight standpoint out there. But let me see here. Sunny Sharma, good morning to you, sir. Zena, good morning. Thanks for tuning in, Zena. Steve Setka says the E-Myth is a fantastic read. I've referenced that book to many young aspiring entrepreneurs. Understanding the concept is imperative. Yeah, man. And it's really speaking to my soul right now, Steve, with where it's talking about like the technician standpoint of the book. And it's, it's wild how some of these books literally speak to your current ventures and like your current standpoints in life and everything else. And yeah, man, it's fucking wild. But that book it's very solid so far. All right, Cody, what is up? ANZ produce experts out of Arizona. What is up, Cody? All right, you guys, let's jump into some articles here. This first one that we're going to break down. So this is something that I think is going to affect a hell of a lot more people. And it's already affected my business right now. I won't go into the details of my personal example until it's all resolved. But this is with from the JOC, you guys, JOC.com. I would highly recommend all of you, if you guys are doing drayage or port moves or anything like that, I would highly recommend you guys read this article about stakeholders sorting out per diem bills under new FMC rules. 2 weeks after their rollout, the Federal Maritime Commission's new rules on detention and demurrage billing still faced questions about whether truckers can ever be responsible for such charges. Billing policy changes among ocean carriers are also causing angst as the shipping industry figures out what should get billed to whom under the agency's new rule. So just a little brief insight into what I'm going through right now is we paid out per diem already. We've invoiced our customer, and now we just got a brand new per diem bill from another party with the exact same move. So it's sorting out like who the fuck is what here, who gets billed, who gets this, who gets that. So we'll figure it out. And once I get through all of that in my business, you guys, I will talk about this on the show and let you know, because it's just ironic that this article came out and I literally just started dealing with this exact situation last night. But there's a solution out there. We'll get it squared away no matter what. But I think that this is going to be something that a lot of people, if you're moving any drayage or port moves or anything like that, that it will eventually come up to you. 90 days after its initial publications, the final rulemaking went into effect. The rulemaking limits the responsibility of paying detention and demurrage charges to the entity that has the direct transportation contract with the ocean carrier or non-vessel operating common carrier, most typically beneficial cargo owner, the BCO, or the shipper. A consignee for the container can also become a billed party for a per diem invoice under the FMC rulemaking, even if it did not originally contract for ocean freight transportation. Along with the billing information requirements in the Ocean Shipping Reform Act, the rulemaking requires detention and demurrage invoices only to be sent to one party, and they must be sent within 30 days of the last charges accruing. The rulemaking was meant to curb what many saw as indiscriminate levying of per diem charges on a containers or third-party companies that had no contractual relationship with the ocean carrier. That includes truckers who may be forced to pay per diem charges at a marine terminal to have a container released, and customs brokers who have gotten hit with detention invoices for processing a customer's container. But instead of clarifying the matter, they said to the FMCSA that a correction the agency made to the rulemaking has muddied the water. The correction removed a section of the rulemaking that said ocean carriers can still issue detention and demurrage invoices to motor carriers when a contractual relationship exists between the two. And then it goes on to say that ocean carriers change. This is a very lengthy article, you guys, so I would highly recommend going and reading this yourself. I don't have time to read it, or else we would only read this article on today's show. But and then it goes on to say, while OCEMA and WSC challenges remain pending, shippers and truckers face immediate changes in how they pay per diem charges. The biggest change is further separation in how ocean carriers and marine terminals bill for such charges. An example, the Port of New York and New Jersey's largest terminal, MAR Terminals, said in a recent customer notice that as of June 1st, Hapag-Lloyd and Costco Shipping, not to be confused with Costco, the retail giant, will collect their own demurrage charges for import containers directly instead of paying those charges through MAR. So just to kind of put this up, the ocean containers or the ocean liners used to bill the port, and then the port would bill the drayage carrier. It looks like, again, I could be wrong here, but this is just my perception after reading this. CMA, CGM, and Evergreen Marine will be the only ocean carriers that will allow import demurrage to be paid through MAR. MAR's neighbor, Port Newark Container Terminal, also said in a recent customer notice that it will no longer collect Maersk's import demurrage. And then obviously, you guys, for those of you who are tuning in who don't know, demurrage is the excess time that a container sits at a terminal, has typically been treated as an expense, and marine terminal charges an ocean carrier that ultimately get passed through to the shipper or trucker. However, a marine terminal source who has not been identified told the JOC that ocean carriers in general will charge their own demurrage on top of the marine terminal's own demurrage. That kind of sounds like what I might be going through right here. Due to the new rules, more marine terminals are opting out of collecting those fees, but they may not want to be exposed to the lawsuits and complaints out there. What's at stake here is the carrier's ability to charge liners demurrage sources, some marine terminal operators are simply divorcing themselves from being the collections agent because of the exposure. And then marine terminals were generally opposed to the rulemaking as limiting their leverage over shippers with excess terminal fees. Yeah, this is, I think that this is going to, might, as they said, muddy the waters even more. Yeah, Matt, I can see D&D is a complete mess. Detention and demurrage is what he's talking about there. It can get out of hand very, very quickly. But again, I think just like with any changes in policy, in rulemaking, there's always that after effect of the initial rollout that causes issues in the market and everything else. And it's going to get cleaned up, right? Eventually. But unfortunately, these things, I think again, you always have to ask questions, right? This article, though, you guys, is from the JOC, stakeholders sorting out per diem bills under new FMC rules. I would highly, highly, highly recommend each and every one of you who is moving any freight in and out of the port, read this and get well versed on this, because I literally am just dealing with this right now in the moment. And then again, I'll let you guys know how it all what comes out after the fact. But from my perspective, you need to get well versed on this. And then frankly, you need to ask questions as well, right? I always ask questions, right? It's, some might call it a fault of mine, but I will always push back when an additional fee gets added on, or if somebody's trying to charge me something that, I want to know, right? I want to know, because at the end of the day, there's so many different parties involved in this stuff, right? You look at the port, for example, the ocean liner, the freight forwarder, the port itself, the drayage carrier, and the shipper. And then if there's a freight broker involved, that's 6 different parties right there, you guys, for one container, right? So think about that. Not everybody has your best interests in mind, all right? Hate to be the bearer of bad news, you guys, but in the real world, most people don't give a fuck about you, and they will do what they feel like is necessary and bill whomever. And some people, again, I'm not saying in my specific scenarios that are out there, some people just bill to see if someone will just fucking pay it, right? Because how many people out there receive invoices and then just fucking pay them, and they don't actually look and see, is this actually something that should affect our business or not? That's why I've always said, you guys, having a bookkeeper and a CPA for your business is vital to the early success, because some of these fees can come in, and now I'm moving on from that article. I'm talking about just fees in business that come through, whether it's with some of your vendors or a bank fee or whatever that looks like, or you signed up for multiple different softwares, and then there's early cancellation fees and everything else. Read the fine print and fight for your business and actually understand what the hell all of this stuff means, or this is just something else that can put you under. You guys, if you guys aren't tracking these things, and then if you're just willingly paying invoices and you're not seeing what the hell was this actually for. I pay all my bills on time, but you better bet your ass I am fucking looking at every single one of them to find out what this actually is for, and am I actually responsible for it, or is somebody else responsible for that bill? Next article we are going to break down, transport topics, my absolute favorite topic. Thieves targeting EV charging stations for copper wiring. Thefts pose yet another obstacle to the appeal of electric vehicles. It's funny. I actually just read an article this morning that there's a bridge in Los Angeles that it was a massive project, and there's $6 million worth of copper wiring stolen from it, and they haven't replaced it. And so it's there's no lights on the bridge because thieves stripped the entire bridge of copper wiring. And it also might be the fact that in the state of California, you can do whatever the fuck you want and not be held accountable. So, no wonder thieves are running rampant out there. Anyways, to set the scene, Detroit, Michigan, just before 2 a.m. on a chilly April night. In Seattle, a Chevy Silverado stopped in an electric vehicle charging station on the edge of a shopping center. 2 men, one with a light strapped to his head, got out. A security camera recorded them pulling out bolt cutters. One man snipped several charging cables. The other loaded them into the truck, and in under 2.5 minutes, they were gone. Oh, man, that scene might become more of a part of a troubling pattern across the country. Thieves have been targeting EV charging stations intent on stealing the cables, which contain copper wiring. The price of copper is near a record high on global markets, which means criminals stand to collect rising sums of cash. The stolen cables often disable entire charging stations, forcing EVs on the road to search desperately for a working charger. For the owners, the predicament become stressful. Broken down chargers have emerged as the latest obstacle for U.S. automakers in their strenuous efforts to convert more Americans to EV, despite widespread public anxiety about scarcity of charging stations. About 4 in 10 U.S. adults say they believe EVs take too long to charge or don't know of any charging stations nearby. If even finding charging stations doesn't necessarily mean finding functioning cables, it becomes one more reason for skeptical buyers out there with traditional gas. America's major automakers have made heavy financial bets that buyers will shift away from combustion engines. Let me see, 50% of passengers of cars, excuse me, so I'm just jumping around here. 2 years ago, according to Electrify America, which runs the second largest network of fast chargers, a cable might be cut perhaps every 6 months at one of its 968 stations with 5,400 plugins. Through May, that figure reached to 129, 4 more than all of 2023. We're enabling people to get back to work, to take their kids to school. So they have the entire situation, yada, yada, yada. Until a month ago. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, here's just another reason why the electrification of our entire infrastructure is a joke at the end of the day. Again, I feel like it's always relevant to say in these moments, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not against electric vehicles. I'm against the government telling us that we have to only drive electric or alternative anything. I believe in freedom. Fuck me, right? I believe in my freedom to be able to drive whatever the fuck I want. But I think like this is just another reason why it's like this is not sustainable for the trucking industry. Could you imagine a shipment of critical components driving down the freeway, needs to pull off for a charging station, it's got life-saving materials on it. The driver pulls off to charge up their electric semi, and the charging stations aren't there, and then they can't deliver the vehicle, and there's nobody around to deliver said life-saving materials. And you might say that's a very extreme example, but guess what transports on trucks life-saving components all the fucking time? Okay. So again, to say that there's only one way of doing things is a massive problem, and we need to continue to look into this. So again, if you guys want to read up on the electrification and the charging station thefts and everything else, you guys can go to ttnews.com that thieves target EV charging stations for the copper wiring. So just add another reason, not that I'm going to be convinced anytime soon about, that electrification needs to be a thing, but that's just another article to read into to understand what challenges are actually faced out there for us to electrify the entirety of our country, right? Because that's really the message that's being spread out there from the White House right now is electrify everything, no combustion engines, everything else, alternative everything, which I'm just not a fan of at the end of the day, you guys. I'm not the fan of the government telling me what to do, or, I'm a big boy. I can choose what pants that I want to put on myself. I don't need the government to tell me what to do. But anyways, you guys, next article, we're going to get ahead. Freightwaves.com. Warner Enterprises sees better days ahead. The truckload industry downturn is closer to an end than the beginning, says Derek Leathers, who's the CEO of Warner, who told investors that on Tuesday at the Wells Fargo Industrial Conference in Chicago. He's encouraged that spot rates held the uptick from May's International Road Check when some operators parked equipment. The company continues to see rate pressure in current bid season, but there has been less customer turnover this year. It's certainly better than a year ago, Leather said about the rate negotiations. It's not a great time to go and shuffle your deck dramatically in terms of your carrier providers, said Leathers. He believes that most shippers realize an end to a depressed rate cycle is nearing. Warner has been pretty firm in recent negotiations, noting it has little margin left to surrender after several years of above normal cost inflation. He reiterated the company's pricing guidance, but said it's a dogfight every day to get there. That guide calls for revenue per truck per week in dedicated segments to be flat to up to 3% year over year in 2024, and revenue per total mile at the one-way fleet to drop to 6 to 3% year over year. Overall, Leather sees opportunities for rate increases as the year progresses. Warner's one-way segment has double-digit exposure to the spot market, higher import volumes, multiple quarters of inventory, right sizing, and customer spending, mix of goods and services getting back to historical balance out there could be a positive catalyst. Warner also has some internal initiatives that should boost earnings. It implemented $43 million in cost saving programs last year and an additional $40 million pegged for this year. Leathers said roughly 2/3 of expense reductions are sustainable, with the remaining reductions likely reversed when the market turns. The company reiterated its truckload operating margin guidance of 12 to 17% through the cycle, and adjusted the mark was just at 4.7%. Warner estimates 5 to 10% rate increases in the one-way segment would produce a 300 basis point improvement to operating income. And gains of sale was normal. It was at 10%, 10 to 15% of their tractors and trailers out there. And then the dedicated unit truck counts decline. I'm trying to see here. I chose this article because that their financials earlier this year had talked about their brokerage losing a pile of money. So I wanted to see if that was mentioned in here, but it was not mentioned in here at all. But, again, you guys, I look at what a lot of these larger fleets are saying because it's the data set, it's the exposure. And now anybody can make the argument. Of course, the CEO is going to tell their investors what they want to hear in this situation. I don't see how Derek Leathers benefits by lying about this shit. But I pay attention to a lot of this stuff because of the data sets, the amount of invoices that in transactions that the Warners, the Knight Swifts, the CH Robinsons, and the TQLs of the world go through, I think are very beneficial and very telling about how things are. If you talk to people on the ground level that are out there, that the spot market in some markets has like doubled in these last couple of weeks. So again, there are some little pockets of light out there, and it's going to be yet to be seen how this year progresses and how things change as this year goes. I think at the end of the day, with a lot of us out there, we got to focus on the one truck at a time mentality. As I say a lot, you guys, you got to do everything you can to make sure that you can perform at a high level for these opportunities, because opportunities are few and far between with new providers and new customers, and you got to execute at that. And again, don't stop dialing. All right, pick up the phone and make shit happen. But that's going to be it for today, you guys, because your boy has to get back to work. All right. Now, I can't just sit here and talk shit all day as much as I'd love to. I got to get back. I got to use my friends over at Green Screens to bid some more freight because, you guys, I'm telling you, their rates are fucking scary accurate on some of these lanes that we're moving right now. You guys, scary accurate. So check them out, you guys. Hit up Green Screens. Tell them your boy sent you. But that's going to be it for today. As always, if you guys got value, subscribe to the show. If you guys are subscribed out there on iTunes and Spotify, which I know a lot of you guys are, and you haven't ranked the show, if you feel like you can do your boy a solid and go down and hit a 5-star, I would be very appreciative of that, you guys. But we'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.